What is up, Mets fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Mets'd podcast. We're recording this on Thursday. Technically, we've got 4th of July coming up, and honestly, we couldn't do it. So we're technically only recording with the first two games that we know what happens at this exact moment. I'm going to come in at the end of the episode to talk about Game 3, a little 5 minutes by myself here. But for right now, Mets have split the series against the Brewers, have a chance to win going into Game 3, beat Jacob Misiorowski. Game 1 was horrible. Game 2 was great. So we'll talk about everything in the first two games thus far. And then we have the Subway Series preview coming at you. Because, of course, 4th of July, MLB is like Mets-Yankees. How about a 3 p.m. game on a Friday? That's what we're going to be talking about, previewing the Yankee series as well. Make sure you guys follow us on all our social media at Mets'd on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Subscribe to the Mets'd Podcast YouTube channel if you have not yet done so. If you want to listen to us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, drop us a rating, drop us a review, download, and subscribe. Now, James, I was at Game 2 on Wednesday night. Give me your thoughts and opinions. What did it look like from afar? Because at the stadium, I heard Game 1 vibes were horrible. Game 2 vibes were awesome.
Yeah, watching from TV, so Game 1 was also just a weird time to watch a game in the middle of the day on a Wednesday afternoon. I watched it from a coffee shop while I was doing some work. Shout out to West over in Brooklyn. Vibes seemed terrible. There were like 25 people in the stands. The Mets fell behind off a Sal Frelick leadoff home run. As we know, Sal Frelick only hits home runs against the Mets. Also, a quick aside for the people. Happy 4th of July. Yes. Happy Independence Day to all the people. Hope everyone's having a nice day. Barbecue. America out there. But it was bad, especially being on Twitter, because I put out a stat that I've been talking about for the last few episodes, like a trend that has, I was saying a month ago the trend was developing. Now I think the trend has fully developed, where Clay Holmes at first did not give up home runs. Now he exclusively gives up home runs. First 7 starts of the year, no home runs allowed. Last 10 starts, 11 home runs allowed. It's a big share of his earned runs because he still has an under 3 ERA on the season. But just as it was going through the first part of that game, it felt like the Brewers taking better at bats. It felt like the Mets were still, as usual, struggling to get anything going. The only run they were able to manufacture early was there was the Jeff McNeil single, Luis Torrens first to third, and a sac
Jeff
fly.
McNeil hit by pitch.
Jeff McNeil hit by pitch, even better. And then, because I see the run, not the hit. And then Juan Soto draws a walk, steals a base, and Pete Alonso drives him in. Table setter, Juan Soto, speed demon, scat back Juan Soto. So then you manufacture a run each with one singular hit in each individual rally, in air quotes. And it's just, you're like, are we winning? Does it really feel like we're winning? It didn't really feel like we were winning. And then the catastrophe 6th inning happens, and then people are, and I think we're fairly losing their entire minds in the middle of a doubleheader.
Yeah, I mean, the Clay Holmes home run thing is bizarre. That Sal Frelick loves hitting home runs against the Mets. It's crazy how this guy doesn't hit for any power against anybody except the New York Mets. Loves to hit a home run. Clay Holmes' sinker just, they tried to do that thing that Bartolo Colon used to be so good at, where it was you'd start the sinker to a lefty from a right-handed pitcher on their hip, and then it would break to the inner half. And Clay Holmes' started on the inner half, broke out to the barrel of the bat, and it was just like one of the fattest pitches that you've seen in a while. And I feel like that's been happening a lot. It seems like it's that sinker that just doesn't end up breaking the right way, and it breaks onto the barrel of the bat. But like you said, the biggest issue in this game, Clay Holmes settled down after that. He was completely fine. He has his walks, he has his issues, but that's Clay Holmes still. That's going to be the Clay Holmes experience. Pulling him in that 6th inning, 90 pitches. What do you think about that? Because that was the hot topic of that Game 1 was, should the Mets have actually pulled Clay Holmes there? And then more so, what is going on with Reed Garrett in the month of June and July? He falls apart every year. It's crazy.
Mendoza talked about the Clay Holmes situation because I don't think there was any media availability in between the double headers. So maybe there were a couple questions, but no formal press conference. So they basically said that when Clay Holmes gets to 90, that's like kind of his new limit. They're taking him out. This happened exactly when he got to 90. And I thought the context of the situation was even more strange because Clay Holmes had just gotten through the best collection of hitters on this well, he didn't get through him on the Brewers team because Christian Yelich started the inning, then Jackson Chourio was up. He walked, Yelich started the inning. You're like, all right, maybe Clay Holmes losing a little bit. Jackson Chourio hits like a decent fly ball. I wouldn't characterize it as a lazy fly ball. I wouldn't characterize it as like a scary fly ball. But he does get Jackson Chourio out. So Clay Holmes had enough to start the inning, get through the two batters in Christian Yelich and Chourio. And then the second Bryce Terang comes up. That's when immediately, with a man on first base, Carlos Mendoza is running for the bullpen. To me, that was a weird situation where if you don't think Clay Holmes has enough gas to start the inning, maybe don't make him start the inning. But also at the same time, you think Clay Holmes is objectively better at seeing the best two hitters in this lineup in Yelich and Chourio for a third time rather than Bryce Terang when he hits 90 pitches. He had to pull him out for 90 pitches. To me, it was a strange situation. It feels like the kind of thing where last year we gave Mendoza so much credit for how much feel he was able to manage with, how he was able to really do things that are kind of extraordinary. What's the word for it? Things that are just outside like the normal line of logic that you think about. Be like, all right, have the feel for that situation. Go with your gut. This to me seemed like a much more rigid approach that probably came from many other people in the organization. It was like Clay Holmes gets the 90s out of the game. And it seemed like Mendoza wanted him to face as many batters as possible before that 90th pitch and then take him out of the game immediately at that 90th pitch. Somewhat, with the situation being somewhat irrelevant that was happening around. So to me, it's just, I understand that we have to save his workload in certain places. And if 90 pitches is the limit, 90 pitches is the limit. But in that exact situation, seeing the best two hitters a third time, then leaving the game with a man on base, I'm just like that. It was an awkward place for him to leave the game.
It definitely was awkward. I guess the only thing I'll give him is that if Clay Holmes did, and he struggles against lefties, we know this, Bryce Turang, a lefty, why, like, you don't want to bring in Reed Garrett now first and second, maybe. Maybe that was his big reasoning.
And Isaac Collins right after switch hitter, and Jake Bauers after another lefty. So it was a lot of lefties in a row.
But then why not go with one of the left-handed guys out of the bullpen in the sixth inning and not Reed Garrett? Do you think that was a little bit aggressive, especially knowing how Reed Garrett's been pretty unpitchable for the last week or so?
I mean, we know that Reed Garrett's been unpitchable in our context, I think in the fan parlance. But I think in terms of everything I talked to you guys about 2 episodes ago, but they're seeing with Reed Garrett is normal Reed Garrett. The velocity's fine, the movement of his pitches is fine, the swing and miss rates are fine, and the command is still technically fine. So it's like, I know this game, the cutter to Joey Ortiz is the fastest pitch I've ever seen in my life, but but for everything they're seeing, it's not a moment to say we're not trusting Reed Garrett. You know what I mean?
If you're going to go Waddell for 3, I know the game got broken open there, but Waddell could have, I feel like, handled Turang, Collins, Bauers because he's pretty good.
I texted you that immediately. I was like, why are we burning Waddell now? I actually agree with you. And I think that's kind of a situation where Keith referenced it a lot in the second game. I know you were there, not watching on TV. Said over and over again that it felt like Mendoza was managing this game like it was game 7. Where it's like, you have to win this game. It did feel like bringing in Reed Garrett in the 6th inning to face the middle bottom of the order. Or maybe that was part of it. Let's build up Reed's confidence. We know how much he gets that heart pumping.
When there's Turang, Isaac Collins, and Jake Bauers, you should get these guys out.
You should get these guys out. You're supposed to be, our best fireman in this bullpen. You're supposed to be the second most trusted guy. The most trusted guy was not pitching in the 9th inning. So I think that was also maybe part of the thinking where it's kind of Monday morning quarterback. And then funny, watching the press conference after the second game, Mendoza got a little bit tongue-in-cheek with some of his responses to Gelb's first question, especially, where talked about the instincts to switch up the lineup when we start talking about the second game in a little bit here. And he's like, oh, you know how this works. When I make a decision that goes wrong, it's my fault. When I make a decision that goes right, the players get the credit. Ha ha ha. And I was like, was that him being a little bit snippy with the press after this cold stretch? We're kind of seeing the washed look on his face after all of these losses the last couple of games, but it's just we can't get over the fact of how much of an absolute catastrophe disaster that 6th inning was. The guy's getting these hits, and the guy's breaking this game open. Isaac Collins, the first 4-hit game of his career. It was the first 3-hit game of his career. Joey Ortiz, who statistically has been the worst hitter in baseball this season, with a 570 OPS, hits a grand slam to break this game open. You're watching what the actual fuck is happening right now.
Yeah, it was bad. It was hard to watch. As I'll say this, it was nice because as soon as that happened, I was like, oh, I can go take a nap. I'm done. I don't need to watch the rest of this game, especially because the quality of at-bats, and I get it, Freddie Peralta is a good pitcher, but the quality of at-bats of the Mets in this game, too, were horrible, especially after that inning. I think the Mets had a 6-pitch inning. I think they had a 10-pitch inning at the plate. I was like, I don't think anyone got on base. Yeah, I'm like, one of the few times I said, I think they just want this game to be over. They don't really want to be here right now. And that was a very, very scary feeling because this is a Mets team who we know has not been looking good. And that was the first game in a while where I felt not really in it. Doesn't seem like anyone cares. There was a stink around this team, and it wasn't the talent that stinks. There was just a smell, it felt like, after game 1 where we're like, how do we get rid of this? Because this can't stay.
Now that I'm even looking at this box score, trying to remember actually what happened in this game because it became such a blur after that 6th inning. I don't think there was a base runner after the Pete Alonso RBS angle in the 4th because that was him and Luis Torrens had the only hits. Torrens' hit was in the 3rd. Juan Soto had the only walk of this game for the Mets. That happened in the 4th before the Pete singles. That was kind of it. And I do think that part of what you're saying is definitely true. The other part of it, like, this was a massive gut punch to
Yes.
give up. Everyone, how bad the guys in the other team are when a guy's bad. When a guy like Joey Ortiz can't hit, everyone's painfully aware of that who's on the field. So I think seeing that guy hit that grand slam on a color that's that middle, especially in a team where like Reed Garrett is supposed to be our guy, now he's not our guy. Like, that's like a scary feeling for players on a baseball team as well. And then also, the other part of it, we kind of had the gut punch even when the lineup came out in this game because we're starting Marte hitting second against a right-handed pitcher.
What
like,
is
why?
the deal with that?
I don't know. It was weird no one asked him because so many other things happened as these two games unfolded. Also, the nature of it, which is funny. I go every single month on ESPN Albany. Mark also, we did it the same day Wednesday on ESPN Syracuse. So I'm firmly saying this is the official Mets podcast of upstate New York. Mets'd Up. Mark covering Syracuse. I'm covering Albany. But the way doubleheaders just work, they almost always split.
Yeah.
You almost always split doubleheaders. So it's like, I was trying to remember that between these games, seeing Jacob Mizorowski versus Huascar Brazoban on the ledger in the preview for the second game of the series. But I'm like, we always split doubleheaders. Everyone always splits doubleheaders. You always split doubleheaders. So I think that might be some of it too. These guys like, we got two more. We got a whole nother game. Like, this sucks. Like, get me out of here.
It's summertime, and if you want to let it all flow out, but the hair is thinning, there is a solution for you. And Kratz, it's called Nutrafol. Tell the people what they need to do.
It's easy. You just got to hit up Nutrafol.com and use our code FOUL. And I'll tell you why, because you're going to have thicker hair. That's it. If that's your desire, you want thicker hair, there's no other place to go than Nutrafol.com and use the code FOUL for us.
#1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand trusted by over 1.5 million people. See thicker, stronger, faster growing hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. For a limited time, they're offering the FT fam $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and you enter the promo code FOUL, F-O-U-L. Find out why over 4,500 healthcare professionals and stylists recommend Nutrafol for healthier hair.
Yeah, no, it was scary going up against Jacob Mizorowski in game 2. It was like, oh boy, we just got the shit kicked out of us. We have an opener who hasn't been able to throw strikes at all over the last month. A guy who
struggled in that one inning to throw strikes.
Yeah. It ended up working out great. I'm not really quite sure how it happened. I was at the game and it still feels like a blur to me. The fact that we were able to get Jacob Mizorowski. Shout out me. Before the game, I went through and I bet every first plate appearance for the Mets hitters that they would walk. 3 walks in their first plate appearances, made some money, which was fantastic. Jacob Mizorowski, that's the one thing. The stuff is out of control. The stuff is ridiculously good, but the mechanics and the control at times and the command can be a little bit all over the place. And luckily for the Mets, it worked in their favor and they jumped all over him. That 5-run second inning was beautiful. It was amazing. It was cathartic to see Brandon Nimmo hit that grand slam like that. We needed it so badly.
Yeah, Mizorowski, those long limbs, it seems very hard to control pitches over and over again, especially when they're moving upwards of 102 miles an hour. That second inning rally, like, fairly has gotten a lot of credit. I want to give especially more credit to both Brett Baty and Ronnie Mauricio for working their walks to actually start that rally, because it was looking like it was going to be another pretty quick inning with Jeff McNeil ground ball, Tyrone Taylor fly ball. And then Baty gets up there and he takes 2 pitches that are close to start his at-bat, a fastball and a curve. And then from there, he fouls off a couple fastballs. He didn't look at the pitch in the strike zone. It was a really good at-bat and what's been kind of a continuing maturation of Brett Baty. I think a lot of Mets fans have now lost faith again after the cold stretch, but I think we're still seeing a quality of at-bat in Baty that we just haven't seen consistency-wise ever in his major league career, despite the fact that it wasn't a good month of June as it was for this entire Mets team. And then Ronnie Mauricio, the next at-bat, the same thing, where he's able to lay off a first-pitch slider. That was nowhere close, but still a big deal for Ronnie Mauricio to lay off any pitch out of the strike zone.
Oh, huge.
So the fact that he was able to take a walk and then be able to get to that spot where then Hayden Sanger just gets openly lucky, gets a fastball in the zone. He's like, Hayden Sanger, I'm just going to swing at this. One of the slowest fastballs Mizorowski threw the entire game, which kind of tells me Mizorowski may have been thinking a little bit, because he's like, this is the 9-hitter. I just walked 2 guys. I'm going to lay one in the zone to Hayden Sanger, and I'm going to just see what he can do with it. And that was the baseball guys, I think, just tipping the cap to Hayden Sanger for taking offering at that fastball in the zone. The pitcher said, please hit it, because it bounced off Mizorowski's glove. It takes a spinning hop away from Bryce Terang, who tried to make a nifty play. Terang's a great fielder, stepping on the base, picking up the ball. And then the guys who are supposed to do it. Brandon Nimmo, first pitch slider. You love when Brandon Nimmo swings the first pitch. Yeah. Child of God swings that nice slider. Mizraowski loves to throw that slider to the lefties, kind of like a cutter, because pretty tight pitch. You guys were able to see how crazy that slider moves at 95, 96 miles an hour. Oh, no, that was a fastball. Oh, no, that was a slider. The fastball was the Sanger. And it just didn't get inside enough on Nimmo, and he went out and just got it. It sent the ball to the sky. It did touch his favorite person in the history of the world, got up top, and then it just dropped in the seats, and that was a grand slam he needed. Also, so funny that we switched up the lineup. Yeah. Why does the switch the lineup button always work for this team?
Maybe that's just what it is. Maybe they just need a jolt, like Brandon Nimmo back in the leadoff spot, Francisco Lindor too, something that he hadn't actually done very well historically in his Mets career. Hitting too, he's not done particularly well. Comes out 3 for 4, 3 RBIs, hits a home run as well back to back right after Brandon Nimmo goes yard. It is crazy how that button being hit does get this team right. And again, Jacob Mizraowski has been one of the more dominant pitchers in baseball since he's been called up. He's given up, I think, 3 hits before this Mets game in 15 innings, which is kind of insane to say out loud. But the Mets did, the unfortunate side of this is that the Eric Chavez approach of being patient and waiting for your pitches really worked with Jacob Mizraowski quite well.
I mean, I think no one's against being patient, waiting for your pitches. In terms of baseball, I think that's a fine thing to do. I just think you get lucky when 7, 8, 9 all reach base with 2 outs to allow the top of your order to then
How many times have we seen where we're you can't walk the 9 hitter, you can't walk the 8 hitter? We scream about that so much.
It actually happened again yesterday in the Braves game against the Angels with Ryan Zeffershan on the mound. After they pull Yusei Kikuchi, Sean Murphy hits a go-ahead home run after a 2-out rally. Then Brian Zeffershan gives up a hit to Michael Harris, which you don't want to do, and then he walks Nick Allen again, and then he walks Ronald Acuna, and then Matt Olson comes up and hits a grand slam. That puts that game out of reach.
Isn't this part of the new analytical thinking that you talked to me about earlier in the year, where there's a thought process of having a really high on-base guy actually hit 9th now?
Yeah, there is. I read something earlier this season that it was about manipulating the order a little bit. So your worst hitter is now actually 9. You put your worst hitter at 7 because 7 is the spot that you're the least likely to get an opportunity to drive in a run. And it's also the spot where you're still not close to the top of the order. So you getting on base doesn't mean as much because the 8, 9 hitters behind you are likely not going to have a good chance to drive you home. So what you do is you actually kind of do an hourglass type of order. Not all the way, but where you want your 8, 9 hitters to actually be a little bit better, because while you're getting less at bats over the course of season from your 8, 9 hitter, that's probably marginal. Once you get after 5 or 6, because when you lose that extra at bat, that's much more weighted heavily towards the 1, 2, 3 hitters. You want 8, 9 to be getting on base as much as possible because you're turning it over for your 1, 2, 3, which are your most talented hitters in the lineup. So that, again, not that the Mets are doing that, but in this instance, it worked incredibly well for the Mets, and that's how this whole rally came to be. And it was funny listening to Mizraowski after the game. This was the first time that he has literally struggled as a big leaguer, like you said before. In his first 2 starts, I think each one he took no-hit, a perfect game to the 5th inning. And I think the second one was no-hit, perfect game to the 7th inning. Then he beat Paul Skeens with 10 strikeouts or something. So it's all right, this guy maybe can't do any wrong. But he was these are good hitters, make good pitches. They hit the ball well. So it's that's kind of all that happens. But it did feel nice. And it sounded amazing in there as this was all going on.
Vibes were great. People were going crazy. People love a rally, obviously. I feel like when you get a stadium really going, it's walk, little doinky little hit by Hayden Sanger, and then bang, the grand slam, bang, back-to-back. People are losing their minds. When the ball got in the air from Brandon Nimmo's, I screamed about maybe one of the loudest screams ever. I'm get the fuck out. I'm I needed it for my psyche. And then the Lindor follow-up after it, it was really good. The place was rocking. People were excited. You would have never known that they got the absolute shit kicked out of them about 2-3 hours earlier in the day.
The funny flip side of this is that a few innings later, as the Brewers rallied and made this game close again, Boo Birds were hot. The second that Christian Yelich hit that home run, which was, I think in that instance, not even the worst thing, where you're winning by 5 runs. It's the leadoff guy in an inning. Your Blade Tidwell is the furthest you've pitched into a major league game ever in your life. There's 3 balls. Do not walk Christian Yelich to start an inning. Put the sinker in the strike zone. I mean, I would put a fastball instead of a sinker, but put the fastball in the strike zone. If he hits it, he hits it. He just happened to hit that really impressive shot, opposite field home run for Christian Yelich. Then the problem was he goes down 2-0 the next hitter. Then Jackson Chourio hits a home run. And it was also funny for this Blade Tidwell situation. The 2 pitches before Yelich hit that home run, he was throwing fastballs trying to gas him up. And then he's like, I'm going to sneak a sinker by him. Home run to the lefty. Sinker right-handed sinker on the lefty, home run. Then against Jackson Chourio, misses with 2 sinkers off the bat. He's like, all right, now I'm going to try to sneak a fastball by him. Bang, right-handed hitter, hits a home run on the fastball. So you kind of like, that was something we talk about that we get a little annoyed with sometimes about the Mets pitching philosophy, where it's like you should maybe try to throw fewer of those opposite-handed fastballs to the wrong-handed hitters. But both times it happened, I was like, damn. And then Daniel Nunez comes in. He gives up the inherited runner on a ground ball, but then kind of calms things down. But did get testy in that place for a little while. And I thought that was a pretty anxious crowd after how lively the crowd was early.
Oh, it was definitely, you could feel that everyone was like, this can't, because it's the Groundhog Day thing. You're like, this can't be happening again. Like, we're not going to blow it again, right? Surely we have this big lead. This bullpen will be able to handle it. But shout out to guys like Dickie Lovelady back on the team again, because nobody wanted him. Shocker. When he got DFA'd, Dickie Lovelady, clean inning. Ryan Stanek did a great job. Got a little bit hairy. Edwin Diaz came in, immediately shut the door. It was a beautiful win for the Mets. It was really, really nice. And again, shout out Blade Tidwell, first win of his Major League Baseball career. He did the job that the Mets needed him to. Getting 4 innings out of him to basically take us into the 6th before having to use our real bullpen, fantastic.
And the Mets are doing the thing with Blade Tidwell that we saw the David Stearns teams in Milwaukee do with all the pitchers that they were bringing up and developing. Not saying that Blade Tidwell has anywhere near the ceiling of those 3 main pitchers that were developed, being Brandon Woodruff, Corbin Burns, and Freddie Peralta, but we are seeing the Mets put him in situations where they're trying to absolutely manicure any success they possibly can. For a while, he was pitching. He was pitching well. Like it looked not that it looked easy, but the Brewers weren't really squaring him up those first few innings. He was locating the sweeper well. He was throwing hard, sitting 96, 97. And as has happened with Blade for these first few major league starts, once he gets to that like 50 pitch line, then the velocity kind of tapers down, and then that fastball that he leans on gets much, 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 much more hittable. But I think for the role that the Mets want Blade Tidwell in, I think he's fine to fulfill it for the time being. Just they might have to be a little more careful, but you also can't really afford to be careful with the way this bullpen's been taxed. So I am curious how this happens, start in week out with Blade Tidwell, but at least we're seeing the semblance of someone that can get through some bulk innings at the major league level, kind of.
Yeah, the biggest thing for him, to me, I know the velo is super important, but it's so obvious because the stuff isn't elite that he cannot afford to fall behind hitters. And that's when they hit the 2 home runs. When he falls behind, that's when hitters like Christian Yelich and Jackson Chourio are salivating, because that 95-mile-an-hour fastball is just BP for them.
Chourio's been funny. Have you paid a lot of attention to Chourio this season?
Well,
because now getting in these games, it's
such a horrible, horrible start to the year. Like, not what we saw at the end of last year was him being patient.
But he had a great April. It was just a disaster in May. His OPS was over 800 after April.
I didn't know that. Okay.
It was just that what happened was that he was chasing the most pitches out of strike zone of any hitter in baseball. He just got really excited. That's like 21-year-old kid. Like,
he was like, I was so good. You hear everybody talking about me? I'm supposed to be the man.
Shit's awesome. I'm great. I'm a millionaire now. This is the best. And he swings at everything. And now he still has a 280 on base percentage, but he's also still in like a 30-30 pace. It's a very funny season for like a 21-year-old phenom. The other thing with Blade is just that like how you said, the stuff isn't great. It can trend up to being great when he's pumping. I think that is still, I really think that's their cue with Blade Tidwell. I think they know that it's not great stuff. It's also not someone they're expecting to go 6 or 7 innings. So they're like, gas him up. Give us 75 pitches, homie. Like, let's see what we can do. But then what happens is that
how many times do you think Blade Tidwell's ever been called homie?
Probably tons. His name's Blade. I bet that
Tennessee. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But I just think it's like, for some reason that the command just kind of goes away. Seems like sometimes he tries to throw the ball so hard and just winds up in the middle of the plate, which I think sometimes cues like, aim the ball wherever you want, let the movement take it where it goes. Blaze still just wind up in the middle of the plate. Like, he's not trying to locate this. Yeah, for sure. Like, I think that again, and that's why Blade can do it for 3 innings and can't do it once the 4th comes around. But he's going to get more chances these next few weeks. It's almost guaranteed.
The Mets fans, they're like, oh, Blade Tidwell throwing again. It's like, oh my God, he's not.
It's a rookie.
He's not the same as like some of these retreads or like bad pitchers that the Mets have had in the past, where like you can roll your eyes all you want about Paul Blackburn. I'm cool with that. This is an anti-Paul Blackburn podcast as of right now.
Kind of.
Half-ish.
75%.
We kind of have to be. But this is not anti-Blade Tidwell. They are very different pitchers, very different players, very different points in their careers.
Very different things that can happen for them over the next few seasons. How much they can help the Mets in a very different way. 2025, 2026, 2027. It's just he should be getting these chances. And I think it's cool that the Mets are trying to help him and manage him a little bit because they know that they can't have him face these guys like Yelich and Churio 3 times. It was a problem when he faced them 2 times. So it's a good idea to use the opener, Huascar Brazoban, try and also rebuild Brazoban's confidence. I'd like that they're being creative in what they're doing with Blake Tidwell. This to me is encouraging about the way this organization can develop pitchers.
Oh, definitely, for sure. And also we got some news during this game as well. Francisco Lindor has been named the starting shortstop for the National League in the All-Star game. Crazy. It's the first time he's not only been an all-star starter for the Mets, just making the team in general. It's nuts that this is his first time in what has been, before last night, a pretty cold stretch.
Kind of endemic to what goes on with the All-Star voting in general, because it's the opposite of what we saw for years with Francisco Lindor, where Lindor never had a good April and May, had a good June, and we get to the voting and we get to put up our graphics from the Baseball Reference versus Finder. Oh my God, can you believe it? How could he not be an All-Star? Exactly what everyone's doing with Ellie De La Cruz right now. But they opened this voting a month ago when Francisco Lindor was one of the best players in baseball.
Ellie De La Cruz was cold a month ago. He was just having an okay season.
And now as people are like, wow, it's ridiculous. This is bad for the game, not have the best player. It's like, no, dude, the voting just began a month ago and his stats were better.
Also, I'll say this. Maybe this is a hot take. All-Star game starter, like, who fucking cares if you start or not? You end up playing... You end up playing 2-3 innings. Like, people... my whole thing is they're like, oh, Ellie De La Cruz, he's going to be on the team. It's not like he's going to be left off the team. Francisco Lindor had been left off teams.
I had 2 schools of thought there. One, I do agree with you objectively, like, whatever. But 2, it's cool for these players this day to get that national acclaim. Like, these are the all-star starters. You know what I mean?
Fair.
Like, you get a little more juice as the all-star starter. And it did feel like Lindor, because this announcement came out in between these games,
it
got some
came
juice.
Out when he found out when he was coming up to the plate. You could see the clip, and Colin got on the mic and was like, you're starting shortstop for the 2020. And Lindor cracked a smile. And what do you know? He had, like, the best game in the last month that he's had
since the Rockies game, the day after the broken toe pinch hit game winning shot and the 3-hit game right after that. But this was also a very important game for Francisco Lindor because before we got into the Blake Tidwell tangent, the Brewers got close in this game. I mean, we kind of felt like Groundhog Day. I felt like the shit was happening again. And then Lindor, the next inning, when the Brewers are trying to have a shutdown inning, where Craig Yoho starts the inning after a really good 5th inning, who's a pretty sick reliever, and then Jared Koenig comes in once the lefty's top of the order, when Nimmo comes up top of the order. Francisco Lindor is able to have the 2-out single that can let you breathe a sigh of relief, not letting them have their shutdown inning, seizing momentum back. And then he does it again in the 9th inning after the Brewers had a rally in the 8th inning. Bottom of the 8th inning, when they had the rally on top of the 8th inning. So it's just that was kind of like captain shit. And it was nice to see him and Nimmo, especially because top of the order. When you're in a losing streak like this, the veterans have to be the guys that win you the game. So it was nice to see that the 2 guys at the top are like, we're winning us this game.
Also love seeing Travis Jankowski pitch ran there. Using the bench, and it helped. Got us a run right there by having Jankowski get on the bases for us.
Keith had a comment on TV that he's like, you think Jankowski's the fastest 34-year-old in the league right now?
Ooh, that's a
I think
good
he
question.
might be.
He might be.
He might be up there. Maybe we'll do if another big Travis Jankowski moment, we'll actually go through and find that data on Baseball Savant. But just you win a game, you had to win. We're going to have another game.
We'll find out. I'm gonna
choose your own adventure.
Yeah, it's gonna be a choose your own adventure right now. You're gonna hear me talk about Game 3 right now. So hopefully it's good. Any predictions? You want to take a prediction before?
I mean, we have an ace-off. It's Jose Quintana versus David Peterson. I have a very stupid prediction. You ready for this?
Yeah, I'm ready for it.
Starling Marte to home run.
All right, there you go. Starling Marte home run. I like it. Mets win. That's all I got. Mets win. Let's find out what happens in Game 3 now. So this feels kind of weird, but of course, no James. I'm going to close out the series here and Game 3. Fantastic job by the New York Mets on Thursday night, getting a series win, something that it feels like we haven't done in a very, very long time. David Peterson went 6 2/3, couldn't get through that 7th. Sal Frelick sneak one through after Andrew Monasterio and his ridiculous home run. I mean, I was screaming. I was raging. I wasn't happy that Andrew Monasterio, who's been statistically one of the worst hitters in baseball this year, went yard. But David Peterson did a great job again. Wasn't dominant, but sneaky. Kind of always does well against the Brewers. Remember last year, remember this year. David Peterson's doing a really good job. The bullpen was lights out again. Ryan Stanek, an inning and a third, struck out the side. Got a swing and miss on the splitter, which I know we've been on Stanek watch recently. He's been money over the last week or so. Edwin Diaz came in the 9th, shut the door. Just so easy. Not even slightly worried about him. Brandon Nimmo with the huge home run off of Jose Quintana when this team really couldn't do anything about Quintana. Shout out to him. He's been walking a lot of guys this year. Didn't walk a single person in today's game. But Starling Marte, despite me not loving him leading off, 2 for 4 in this game, got on base a couple times. Lindor got on base when we needed it. Soto with 2 hits in this one. Alonso with a big hit later on in the game, a nice double off the wall, which was fantastic. He jumped all over Nick Mears, which was really good to see. And then again, Brandon Nimmo, the big home run from him. That was huge. Getting those RBIs for us early in the game to help us take the lead. Just good baseball. The team still needs to figure out what they're doing offensively. They're still not completely cohesive. They're still not locking in. And of course, Jose Quintana absolutely diced us up. But they were able to get 8 hits in this one, score enough to win the game. Shout out to Luis Torrens again in the 9th inning when Christian Yelich gets on with a bit of a cheap little broken bat-ish flare the other way. Mark Vientos just couldn't get there in time. Goes to steal second base because it's Edwin Diaz. It's usually free. Luis Torrens with a beautiful, perfect throw right on the money to Francisco Lindor, who didn't even have to move the glove. That was a huge part of the reason why the play was overturned, because on the field initially, Christian Yelich called safe. They went to the review. They did the old check the ears, check the replay. And on the replay, when you go frame by frame by frame, a perfect throw. Lindor is barely touching Christian Yelich as his hand is off the bag, not touching it yet. It was in the air. It's huge. Absolutely amazing. And again, shout out to Citi Field crowd. I talked about it in game 2, how on Wednesday night the crowd was amazing. I don't know if you guys heard the pop-off when the Mets closed out that game, when Edwin Diaz struck out Bryce Terang to win. The crowd was going insane. It's a Thursday night for a regular season for a team that has been scuffling over the last 2 weeks. And the fans showed up. The fans were loud. They were into it. They were electric. Just really, really good vibes for a Mets team that kind of had been lacking vibes. We saw Francisco Lindor having a good time. We saw the team was enjoying themselves. Lindor and Soto, I think, and Nimmo, everybody was smiling. These are the kind of things that make you believe that this Mets team is good in a game where, again, the offense still wasn't great. I know they had 8 hits, but it really is. It's a lot of singles. I mean, 6 singles. I'm not happy about it, but that's the Eric Chavez hitting approach. That's the Eric Chavez philosophy. To go ahead and just kind of scrap out a win like that was something good going into the weekend against the Yankees in the Subway Series, which we're going to preview here in a second. Overall, fantastic. I was streaming over on Playback with Wardy and SRS Mike. If you guys were catching that, I really do appreciate everybody that came out to the stream to support there. The vibes are good. Really, really happy about that win. Great job by the New York Mets. All right, that's enough of just me. Let's go back to it now with James.
So then a couple more things I want to discuss before we get to the preview of the big Subway Series this weekend against the Yankees. First up, Sean Manaea. The small little setback turned out to be true. He made his start with Binghamton at AA on Wednesday. He didn't pitch great. He had to actually get taken out of the game in the 4th inning when he didn't have any outs recorded. 3+ inning game, couple hits, couple runs, but he pitched in AA. That's a good thing. They said that they were expecting it possibly to be his last rehab start. I think that's a bad idea because then he'll only make 1 start, then have the All-Star break.
That wouldn't make any sense.
Give him another rehab start and then just give him the nice full week off, then bring him back on the schedule that we can manicure coming off the All-Star break, so we have all of our guys set and ready to go. So that was a weird piece of news that came out of that, but just nice to see Manaea back. Also, at the same time, cautioning people not to refer to Sean Manaea as any kind of hero to save this team. Sean Manaea is he's a fine pitcher. He's a good middle rotation guy. We'll see what happened at the end of last year, if that continues into this year, as he's dealt with many injuries. Just be fair to Sean Manaea in his return.
Yeah, I don't want... we say this all the time. We're like, easy. It's gonna take a minute. Like, I know he was the savior of the pitching staff last year. He was unbelievable what he did for this team. He's not going to be able to get there on July 10th. Like, it's not going to happen. We hope he's there on September 20th. We hope he's there on October 1st. But July 10th, July 15th, whatever day he's going to make his debut for the season for the Mets, just easy. He's not going to come back. No one's Jacob deGrom. You don't come back from injury and throw like 8 innings of 1-hit baseball and then lose 1-0. Like, that's not how this works for anybody else on the planet. So, cautioning that. Do we have Jesse Winker news too? Because I think he should be back pretty soon, right?
He played in the same game as Sean Manaea, and I'm not sure because I think his is another one where like you're bringing a guy back from injury with a few games. I guess maybe the Mets should because the way the season has gone the month has gone so far.
Hitter's different because let's just say he was back for Subway Series, which we don't have any confirmation of yet. He still plays a full week of baseball games at the major league level.
Yeah, totally. And then it also, if anything has gone wrong, it's like, all right, now you got another week off to just like, take that to yourself. Also, big miss by us last episode after the Pirates series. We were both just so mad about how it ended. Not mentioning Dave Parker.
Oh,
Dave Parker,
passing away,
Hall of Famer, getting to the Hall of Fame this year, passing away before his speech, which sucks, but someone who deserved to be in for a good while now. Pirates legend. So missed that last series, but shout out Dave Parker, baseball
Hall of Famer too now, I believe, right?
I just said that. Yeah, he just got inducted. Yeah. He's getting in in a few weeks, which kind of sucks. That's real. That really sucks. Also, Winker hit a home run at Binghamton last night. And then one more before the Subway Series preview. We haven't done this in a while, I think, since the whole Michael K debacle, but this is the first official in about 4-ish weeks now. Michael K Memorial Media Marvel of the Mets'd podcast. A lot of the M's there. And that is because we just passed July 1st. July 1st for most people is just a very regular summer day. It's when you probably pay your rent. If you're a renter, it's a nice day to hang out. If it's a day of the week, you probably work. But for a lot of the same accounts on social media every single year, July 1st is only known as Bobby Bonilla Day.
Yes.
Because that's the day that deferred payments go out for Major League Baseball teams over the years. And for some reason, not for some reason, we know the reason, this year, every single year has become absolutely just tied to Bobby Bonilla and his objectively ridiculous contract he was able to sign with the Mets when they were buying him out in the 90s. But every single year we get tweets from people that should not be tweeting about a baseball player that was balled out in the 90s. Adam Schefter just tweeting about Bobby Bonilla. Darren Ravel every single year tweets about Bobby Bonilla. Huge main accounts for like big sports entities, big accounts for, social media companies, gambling companies. Then the classic one who recycles their tweets every single year, the baseball history nut. Every single year, the exact same picture and the exact same copy for Bobby Bonilla. Also giving some new information, referring to the fact that Bonilla also has money deferred from the Orioles that no one ever talks about. They're also giving him $500,000 every single July 1st. That's another couple of years through 2028. He's one of the highest paid guys in their entire books. And no one even talks about that one. So this Yahoo Sports did the same thing. It's every single year, the same tired people make the same tired joke when, in fact, so many people are getting deferred money on July 1st. It's ridiculous how much deferred money exists in baseball. And there were some accounts doing some good deferred money content. The Spotrac main account had some great ones. Michael Mayer, big member of Mets Twitter, Mets Rise, does his thread every single year in deferred money. It's just every year we wake up on July 1st and people who have no business talking about not even just the New York Mets, baseball in general. Adam Schefter and Darren Ravel, they crawl out of their hole for 2 tweets, a couple baseball tweets a year for some reasons about Bobby Bonilla.
What was the exact year that the Mets bought him out? Was that
like 95, 96?
Was it
I want to say. I also tweeted, and it did go kind of viral, quote tweeting Adam Schefter because I woke up just pissed that day. I have to see these tweets every single year. The whole reason that the Mets wanted to get rid of the Bobby Bonilla money was that so they can negotiate the trade and get Mike Hampton. Because back then, you guys probably remember the old owners before Steve Cohen, that if we brought money in, we had to send money out. That was not a very fun time to be a Mets fan. Getting Mike Hampton was great. Mike Hampton was an awesome pitcher for the Mets. He helped them through multiple playoff runs, helped them get to the NLCS, helped them get to the World Series in 2000. Then losing Mike Hampton to a free agency gave the Mets a compensatory pick that they used to draft David Wright. So the butterfly effect of the Bobby Bonilla deferment is actually pretty funny. Also, just an amazing contract for Bonilla himself and his family. That the story goes that he had some gambling stuff, and then his wife was like, I don't want this money right now. I want this money forever. And now the Bonilla family, every single July 1st, is taking home $1.5 million.
Yeah, what's funny about Bobby Bonilla is his first stint with the Mets, he was awesome. Bobby
So
Bonilla,
good.
like low-key, if he played now, would be getting paid because the guy absolutely mashed.
Bobby Bonilla had a higher career on base percentage than Ichiro.
Yeah, that's insane to say out loud.
He had a good career.
Bobby Bonilla, I believe the highest OPS he has with a team that he played significant amount of games with is with the New York Mets. I think he had his best moments technically, statistically, slash line-wise with the Mets. Like, he was actually a good player. Yeah, 851 OPS over 5 seasons with the Mets. He had an 877 with the Orioles over 2 years. But can you imagine that he had some of his best numbers ever with the Mets in terms of his slash line? Now, the one thing I will say about this, too, because classic Mets, one of the big reasons why this Bobby Bonilla payout ever happened was because Fred Wilpon accepted the deal because he was heavily invested in Bernie Madoff's Ponzi scheme. So
No way.
He had to get rid of the money. He was like, I'd rather pay you more money as we go rather than pay you all this money right now.
Yeah, and again, a big part of it was that Mike Hampton trade in 1999, if I remember correctly. I was thinking about that first Bonilla stint when he was actually good. And that was also the classic Bob Clappish book, The Worst Team Money Could Buy. Because another guy from that team actually wound up getting their money deferred, Brett Saberhagen. No one talks about the fact that the Mets give Brett Saberhagen a $250,000 check every year on July 1st as well. And at least Bonilla hit for the first time he was with the Mets. Saberhagen fucking sucked.
Yeah.
And then he shot reporters with bleach, allegedly.
Bruce Sutter for a while.
He was the first one ever. From
He's
the
the
Braves,
first one.
Ted Turner.
Chris Davis is going to be getting paid for the next 30 years. I think Scherzer loves deferred payments. He's like the biggest fan of deferred
Scherzer made
payments.
$15 million on July 1st from the Nationals. Dude, also, Matt Holliday still gets $1.4 million from the Cardinals. He's making more money still than his son Jackson.
I think Ryan Braun got over $1 million from the Brewers on July 1st. Like
Lorenzo Cain got $1 million yesterday. Got $1 million from the Brewers as well.
It's the perfect storm of fat Bobby Bonilla, horrible. Mets gave him all this money, technically on a contract that they didn't even give him. They got it. They inherited that contract because the Mets traded for him, which was insane. After the first time, they're like, bring him back. Then they cut him, and of course, it's just the classic LOL Mets.
Yeah, and again, the Chris Davis, $9 million. He's set to get $31.5 million through 2027. Another great tweet from Spotrac. Manny is still getting $2 million from the Red Sox. There was a while where Ken Griffey Jr. was one of the highest paid players just because of his deferred payment on the Cincinnati Reds. So it's not Adam Wainwright got $1 million from the Cardinals. Like there's such a long. The Yankees deferred money to Derek Jeter in one of his big contracts. Like this is such a normal thing, and the fact that it's totally only talked about with Bobby Bonilla is so funny. And also stupid, but I understand the click machine has to get people their money. That's what they have to do out there. You got to get out the tin cup and bang your coins together and grab your clicks. Schefter and Darren Ravel over there. We know how bad we need them. I need my shackles. But yeah, I wanted to bring out the Media Marvel for a special occasion because Bobby Bonilla Day is it's an absolute farce. They expect us to wake up in the morning, shut off our brains, and laugh at the same tweets every year.
Now, before we do hop into the Subway Series preview, we do have a new little segment, DraftKings Player Spotlight, and I feel like there's no better person to talk about the National League Player of the Month than Juan Soto. That guy's been on an absolute tear. We know we've got the Yankees coming into town, and it'd be really nice to see Juan Soto continue to stay hot, do some damage up against the Yankees in the Subway Series. His numbers for the month of June, absolutely insane. One of the best months that a Mets player's ever had.
True, and this was only the second time in Mets history that they had two players in the same season win a Player of the Month, going back to 1985 when Keith Hernandez and Gary Carter did it. But just 11 home runs in June, almost 1,200 OPS. Like right now, Juan Soto is hitting like one of the best hitters in baseball because he is one of the best hitters in baseball. And getting this weekend series against the Yankees after the way that he knows how poorly he performed in that Yankee series last time. He knows that sent him on a bit of a 2-week tailspin of the slump. It is a huge moment for Juan Soto, too. He's definitely asserted himself, and he's proven himself to the Mets faithful over the last month, this entire season. We know that. He'll probably will be another All-Star with the Mets team down in Atlanta for the All-Star break, joining Francisco Lindor. He's going to have a moment this series. The fans are going to be behind him. Citi Field is going to be raucous. The Mets and Yankees are both entering the series playing their worst baseball of the season. This is going to be a moment for great players to do great things to push their team over the edge, and Juan Soto is ready to do that. So we're taking two picks this weekend, one each. What are you taking?
Man, I mean, I'm taking Juan Soto home run. I have to take Juan Soto home run. He's playing against the Yankees. He's been hot. Feels like he's going to hit at least one, maybe two.
I like that. I think that I'm going to try and get a little granular in mine. Not really granular. I think Pete Alonso's going to hit a home run as well. Pete Alonso, and this is because the Yankees have done something weird with their bullpen this season. I talked about it when we played them last time. They have stacked all of the right-handed changeups, basically in all of baseball in their bullpen, and they like to throw those right-handed changeups against right-handed hitters. That's Devin Williams, Luke Weaver, Ian Hamilton, Mark Leiter Jr., Jonathan Loaizaga. Those are all right-handed changeup pitchers. Pete Alonso is going to get a right-handed changeup on from a right-handed pitcher that's not going to break low enough out of the zone. He's going to golf that thing for a big home run.
I like that. I mean, let's kind of build it into the series preview right here. And again, this is the DraftKings Player Spotlight. Nothing says summer like long days, clutch plays, and firing off a few bets on the game, all with DraftKings Sportsbook. Never bet on baseball before. It's easy. Pick a guy to go yard, hammer some live odds mid-game, or just ride with your squad and hope for the best. No spreadsheets, just vibes and dingers. Here's something special for first-timers, new DraftKings customers. Bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code FOUL. That's code FOUL for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY at 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
I know Friday we don't have any pitchers. It is an ace-off, TBA versus TBA.
Big one.
I think we're seeing Marcus Stroman back in Citi Field this weekend.
Well, Saturday, we told you guys we will be at the game, 4:10, beautiful 4:10 start. That's technically right now a TBA versus TBA as well, but it's likely that we're going to get Stroman Montas. Talk about an ace-off right there.
Oh, wow.
That's going to be, you guys are going to tell your grandkids where you at for Stroman Montas at Citi Field. Oh, no, they flipped it now. So Friday's now supposed to be Blackburn Stroman, and Saturday's
Real
supposed to be
ace-off then,
Montas.
too.
Blackburn Stroman, and Saturday, almost an ace-off. Oh, this Yankee off. This is a revenge game for Frankie Montas. Montas and Rodon.
Ooh, okay. Carlos Rodon pitching against us on Saturday.
And Sunday, we don't have any starters named because that was, the reshuffling from the doubleheader. So I guess that's going to be. It's not going to be Clay. It can't be Clay Holmes. He pitched Wednesday.
Then who would it be?
Mike and Hageman. We might have a Blackburn Montes Hageman 3-game series against the Yankees when they have Max Fried.
Can I change my pick? I think the Yankees might sweep. Oh my god.
Yeah, a lot of Yankee fans are coming into this series a little bit beleaguered just because they've been playing also some shit ball of late. Like we've been watching a lot of shit balls and Mets.
Teeth kicked in by the Toronto Blue Jays right now.
They got caught in their division by the Toronto Blue Jays. Like we're upset that we got caught by the Philadelphia Phillies. Phillies are a good team.
Phillies are a World Series contender.
You guys saw the Blue Jays in April. Blue Jays stink. The Blue Jays are not good. I don't know how the Blue Jays are.
They're scalding hot.
Blue Jays Twitter has it out for us. Give it credit where it's due. This Blue Jays team is at least pitching well. Top of the order is hitting well. You really bemoaned me for telling you that George Springer was back at the beginning of the first couple weeks of the season. That guy's back.
He's so old. Let me see what happens in September when those knees are so 100 years old.
Right now, the guy's hitting. He is hitting really well, though. You made fun of my guy, Randy Clement. Does the straw that's stirring the whole drink?
It is unsustainable how well he's hitting. It doesn't make any sense.
I don't know why I'm just talking about the Blue Jays right now. I love needling Mark about the Blue Jays because Blue Jays Twitter has it out for him. But
I hate my guts.
This Yankees team has played poorly, and they've played poorly kind of just it's their lineup is actually falling apart rather than rotation. Somehow the Yankees rotation has actually been one of the most consistent in baseball, even despite losing Garrett Cole. And we're not going to see him this series. Will Warren had been awesome until he got busted up by the Blue Jays on Wednesday. In the game, the Yankees trailed 8-0, fought back for 8-8, and then wound up losing the game all the way in the end after everyone on Twitter was like, Aaron Judge ties the game, the Yankees are back. But Max Fried has been one of the best pitchers in baseball. Carlos Rodon is 100,000,000,000% back. Change up. He brought out a sinker he hasn't used in 5 years. You guys saw him in May. The guy shut us down. He's an incredible pitcher. Same with Max Fried. It's going to be really important to get the Stroman revenge game because the other two pitchers we're facing in the series will be so much better than the pitchers that we have in the series.
Yeah, no, we need to jump all over him. And again, the pitching is good. The bullpen has been a little bit shaky coming into the series as well. They've been giving up some runs. It's kind of what happens. It's the ebbs and flows of seasons. It's crazy. This is like the Mets and Yankees right now are having a little bit of the coughing baby off right now of like who's playing worse, someone has to win these games right now.
Yeah, but at least they're coughing baby off. Like they have aces pitching every couple of days.
True.
Where our coughing baby off, it's like here's Montas Blackburn TBA.
They're like coughing toddler. We're coughing baby right now.
I mean, this is definitely not going to happen, but I just want to say it because I remember the Subway Series in 2014. That was a big-time Subway Series. I tell the story in the podcast all the time. The Mets had two pitchers debuting during the Subway Series from the minor leagues. One Friday night, Rafael Montero. Rafael Montero had all the steam, all the allure. He was the higher-ranked prospect. My dad was like, we got these two rookie pitchers weekend. You want to go to one of these games? I was like, let's go Friday. I want to watch Rafael Montero pitch. He was like, okay, that's fine. Rafael Montero got lit up by the Yankees. Masahiro Tanaka threw a complete game shutout against the Mets, and the Mets lost the game. Saturday, some guy named Jacob deGrom went, I think, 6 strong in his Major League debut against the Yankees. Mark Teixeira, first strikeout of his career. So, yeah, I missed that one. If there was ever a time for Noah McLean to get his Major League debut, he's on schedule to pitch this weekend as they make the Windy Fingers. And we need a guy.
Interesting.
Not going to happen, but I'm just putting it out there just in case.
Just in case. Why not? It would work out.
Just in case.
I'd
Justin Hageman.
Yeah, Justin Hageman. And again, guys, we will be there on Saturday. Me and James will both be there. We're going to do a train episode after the game. So if you ride the 7 Express, the Super Express is going to be in the middle platform. So you got to walk through the 7-line station, go left. You're going to walk all the way down to the back of the train. Me and James will be there. We're going to be doing a live episode. We're also going to have like a little meetup before the game too. We're going to go out in center field before the game. We'll put out tweets and put it on Instagram and everything so you guys know the official spot of where we're going to be.
Like 3:15, we'll say?
Yeah, like 3:15, 3:30 around that age.
Yeah.
Be there around 3 to 3:30. That's when we'll be hanging out there. And that's pretty much it. The stadium should be bumping. The vibe should be good. Hopefully, again, our game 3 predictions were correct against the Brewers. We'd love to see some wins here. But I think this is where we're going to wrap up the episode. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for watching. Make sure you follow us on all our social media at Mets'd on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Subscribe to the Mets'd Podcast YouTube channel to see the video version of this. And if you're listening to us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, drop us a rating, drop us a review, download, and subscribe. You can follow James on social media at
James Shiano.
I'm Draft Nick Mark with a C. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the 4th of July. Be careful around fireworks.
Yes.
Do not get hurt.
No.
Hang out responsibly.
Yes.
God bless America. Hell yeah. Let's go.
Let's go, Mets. See you guys Sunday.